The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink it and criminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes, and welcome. We made it to the weekend. It is Friday, October 18th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. We're representing the Atlanta Cannabis Jam t-shirt today in celebration of our friends Stoney and Snap, who spent a great couple of weeks with us here at Roll the Age Studios. They're back out on the road, headed to places unknown, but I'm sure I will see them again soon. Sitting in today, we got Bacon Dan on the mic over there. How you doing, Dan?
I'm quite good.
Oh, we are quite good. We got all sorts of things we're going to talk about in hour two that affect us directly, so we'll have some good times with that, so stay tuned. But on today's show, all sorts of stuff to get to, and we got to get ready because next week we're going to be gone starting on Tuesday, headed to Denver, Colorado for the Biennial International Drug Reform Conference sponsored by the Drug Policy Alliance. This is an amazing conference that, easily over 1,000 people in attendance. I think the one I went to was 1,500, and that was 2007 in Albuquerque. I missed the one in 2009 in Los Angeles. I forget what year it was. But anyway, there's one this year in Denver. I will be there bringing you coverage all 4 days. Some of our friends will be there as well. Georgia Mom for Marijuana, some other great activists that we know in the Denver area. So next week, live coverage Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from the Drug Reform Conference. We'll have some recorded videos and live coverage as best we can bring it to you. So next Tuesday, no show. We'll have a replay going on because I will be flying at that point. We're also going to spend some extra time in Denver over the weekend and over the next Monday, too, so that we can perhaps do some tours of dispensaries and give you a look at the legalized marijuana world of Denver, Colorado. Coming up on the show, then, we've got Art Way from the Drug Policy Alliance. He's their senior drug policy coordinator there in Colorado. He'll tell us all about the conference, who's going to be there, what we can expect. Also, I'll have time for a radical rant at the end of the show. There's people that just cannot drop this $17 a gram estimate for Washington state marijuana. I'm going to show you why that's a ridiculous estimate and how the real estimates are more in line with what we're actually used to paying for marijuana. Plus, we got a poll out of California showing 2/3 of likely 2016 voters are ready to legalize marijuana. In Behind the Headlines, I'll break that down, give you all the demographics, plus tell you about the panel they're putting together to study legalization for 2016. And Herb Thrasher's got a tune for us from Mellow Bravo out of Small Stone Records. It's plenty of stuff for the Russ Belville Show today. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The Law Office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activists to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email firedupLawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today.
This is your 420 Radio News for Friday, October 18th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Nearly two-thirds of Californians support legalization, from hightimes.com. California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and the representatives of the American Civil Liberties Union announced on Thursday the results of a new poll which shows nearly 2 out of 3 likely 2016 California voters support the legalization of marijuana for adults. The pollsters from Tulchin Research called 1,200 voters by landline and mobile phone to measure their support for a legalization proposal that would maintain prohibition for minors, establish state-regulated stores, ensure DUI penalties, and raise $1 billion for the state. 65% of poll respondents supported such a proposal, with a plurality of 46% strongly supporting legalization. Less than a third, or 32%, opposed legalization, with 3% undecided. Newsom called the press conference to also announce the formation of a panel that will study various proposals for marijuana legalization with an eye toward the 2016 election. John Morgan coughs up serious cash for medical marijuana ballot measure, from the Orlando Sentinel. Orlando trial lawyer John Morgan said this summer he was prepared to spend a lot of money financing a ballot initiative to legalize medical marijuana use in Florida. The latest campaign finance records show Morgan and his high-profile law firm have contributed $400,000 to the People United for Medical Marijuana campaign. Nearly two-thirds of the total $644,000 the group has raised through September, with $250,000 of that coming in the last 3 months. Morgan said Friday that volunteers were collecting about 20,000 signatures a week, and he planned to return to using paid signature gatherers next week. The final budget could surpass $2 million. Morgan's group has also collected enough signatures officially, 105,000 of the required 683,000 to make the 2014 general election ballot, to trigger Supreme Court review and economic analysis of its financial impact to the state, which is underway. Committee drafting medical marijuana rules considers testing, from the Oregonian. The panel charged with crafting rules for Oregon State's medical marijuana retail industry continues to grapple with complex policy questions on security, whether municipalities can opt out of the dispensary law, and cannabis testing. The group, which met Friday for the second time, also discussed potential fees, which are supposed to cover the cost of enforcing program rules. Rob Bovet, the Lincoln County District Attorney, suggested dispensary operators pay an application fee of $1,000 and an annual licensing fee of $5,000. The committee on Friday did not settle on a final recommendation. The state expects to hire 4 full-time employees to oversee the dispensary program, which Bovet said is inadequate to monitor compliance. 20 states and Washington, D.C. allow marijuana for medicinal use, but Oregon is among only a handful that will require cannabis testing. Todd Delato, a committee member who also serves on the state's advisory committee on medical marijuana, told the group, quote, "To complicate things even further, there aren't any registered pesticides for cannabis at all in Oregon," end quote. Jerry Duvall, medical marijuana patient, lacks adequate health care, from Huffington Post. The Michigan medical marijuana patient whose imprisonment could ultimately cost federal taxpayers more than $1.2 million is being denied adequate health care while he serves his sentence, his wife claims. Jerry Duvall surrendered to federal authorities in June to serve out a 10-year sentence for marijuana distribution at the Federal Medical Center Devens Prison in Massachusetts. His wife, Tracy, said in an interview with Huffington Post that he has suffered 2 hemorrhages in his eye since then. Tracy said, quote, "It's actually the worst one he's ever had. If the situation doesn't get taken care of, he could lose his eye," end quote. Tracy and the advocacy group Americans for Safe Access are urging the Federal Bureau of Prisons to allow Duvall to visit an outside doctor to treat his glaucoma and retinal problems. Doctor on the payroll, $3,200 per pound of marijuana involved in drug charges, feds allege, from Michigan Live. Grand Rapids, Michigan, leaders of an alleged marijuana trafficking ring boasted in wiretapped phone calls about having a, quote, doctor on the payroll, end quote, to certify customers as medical marijuana patients, a ruse they thought would protect them from authorities, federal prosecutors wrote in a criminal complaint. In court records unsealed on Thursday, authorities say they unraveled a complex multi-county marijuana operation that led to charges against 27 alleged suspects and the seizure of more than 500 plants and unspecified assets that investigators say were proceeds from illegal activity. This has been your 420 Radio News for Friday, October 18th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines to take a look at those California poll numbers on legalization and the membership of the panel that will be discussing legalization for 2016. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back. Hey, tokers and tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting. I'm a reefer smoking man. Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go pack go. Marijuana legalization is always on at 420radio.org. Make sure you join us for our 5 p.m. Pacific prime time lineup, opening Monday nights at 5 p.m. with Stony Sundays and our good friend Coral Reefer.
Then we open up a trio of great grow shows. Tuesday at 5 p.m., Weed Nerd with Subcool from the Emerald Triangle. Wednesdays at 5 p.m., Free Weed with Danny Danko from High Times Magazine. And Thursdays at 5 p.m., Jorge Cervantes TV from Barcelona, Spain. We close out the week Fridays at 5 p.m. with Canada's own Jody Emery and the Jody Emery Show, courtesy of pot.tv. Marijuana legalization is always on here at 420radio.org. Make sure you visit the website and become a VIP member today to help us support 24-hour cannabis community radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And in the news, we told you of the new poll that came out. It surveyed 1,200 likely 2016 voters by both landline and mobile phone. And they found nearly 2 out of 3 people who would vote in 2016 would support a tax and regulate legalization scheme. 65% is what it came out to. It was 46% who marked strongly support. And the opposition's got 32% who oppose, 27% of those are strongly opposed. So there's always going to be 1 out of 4 just about that we're not going to turn. They're just going to hate marijuana, but we're doing really, really good. Now, keep in mind that these are generic proposals. Once something actually makes the ballot and people can look at it and nitpick the details, you tend to lose a little bit of support. But the demographics on this are really, really good. I wanted to highlight some of these. The greatest support, of course, came from young people aged 18 to 29. Gonna expect that. That was 85% support. And people who smoke marijuana, 83% support. Now, admittedly, there's a lot of overlap in those two groups, but we're getting more than 4 out of 5 support for people under the age of 30 or people who smoke pot, otherwise known as people who have experience with it, right? But for the first time I can remember in covering these polls, we've got senior citizens supporting marijuana legalization. People over the age of 65 in California at 63%. That's more than 3 out of 5 senior citizens are supporting legalization. And non-pot smokers have a majority support at 52% in California. Another interesting development here in these polls, and we saw this in the Texas poll we just did recently too, that was 58% support, is a closing of the gender gap. Up through the 2000s and early 2010s, as I covered these polls, you could almost always bet that the support among women would be 6 to 10 points behind the support you find from men. In the Texas poll, there was 1 point difference, and now in this California poll, again, just 1 point difference. 65% support among women, 66% support among men. How much of this owes to the recent stiletto stoner phenomenon, the various appearances on TV shows, this coming out of moms for marijuana and such? I think the women have done amazing work, and I would love to hold them accountable for bringing these poll numbers up and showing that women can support marijuana legalization and still be good moms and good wives, good workers, good everything, good daughters. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Because once women support legalization, this game is over. The only demographic, I mean, they looked at racial demographics. Support was like over 55%, 60% in all racial demographics. Every age demographic supported. Lowest age demographic to support it were people in their 40s. And that was still at like 52, 53%. The only demographic they could find that opposed this, Republicans. 47% support among Republicans, 50% opposition. So we still got to do some work to convince Republicans that legalization is a Republican issue, is a conservative issue, if it's looked at the right way. I think it's one of the only issues in politics that is equally attractive to the left and the right for different reasons, but equally attractive. Now, they put together this panel. They're putting together a panel to study legalization. That was the other thing that they brought forth in this press conference that the Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom was holding. And some of the people that are going to be on that panel are some people we know quite well. Allison Holcomb from the American Civil Liberties Union of Washington, who helped get legalization passed up there in Washington State. She's on the panel. Denver University law professor Sam Kamen, who's on the task force for Colorado. He's on the panel. But they've also got a couple of law professors on the panel. They've got Keith Humphreys, a former drug czar's office flunky, kind of another kind of Kevin Sabet. He's on the panel. A couple of past presidents from the California Society of Addiction Medicine. are on the panel. A sheriff from Santa Clara County, Sheriff Lori Smith, will be on this panel. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out from this panel. And of course, they also mentioned that there are 2 initiatives that are gathering signatures for the 2014 ballot, the Jack Harrer Initiative and the Open Source Initiative. We're going to talk about those in hour 2 because I got some opinions on 2014 in California. But right now, we've got important work to do. That's right. I got Brian the Red in here, and I got Bacon Dan in here, so we're definitely going to have a special joint subcommittee meeting of the Safety Briefing Commission.
Absolutely, and it's with some Silvertip.
Silvertip?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Let him bring in the beat. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let him bring in the beat.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stop arresting law-abiding citizens because they prefer marijuana over alcohol. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges. We're unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people each year simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They're average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. 3:23 here in the Pacific Time Zone, and normally at this time we'd be talking with Herb Thrasher, but Herb Thrasher's in daddy mode today. He is at a singing recital, so we have to handle this one on our own. But we'll see him later tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific Time for the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. We got plenty of rock for you coming up tonight, including some great artists from a record label that has been very helpful to us here at 420 Radio, giving us a lot of artists to sponsor and interview. Small Stone Records. Check them out at Small Stone Records on the internet. And the band today is called Mellow Bravo, and they are a band out of Boston and looks to be a, six-piece band. We've got 2 guitars, bass, keyboard, drums, and lead singer, at least from the picture I'm looking at. This is their tune entitled Where the Bodies Lay. It's on Small Stone Records, so hope you enjoy it. We got some video for you for those of you watching on YouTube or on the Ustream live stream. This is Mellow Bravo with Where the Bodies Lay.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
420radio.org presents the Hollywood Hemptress Hour, featuring Last Comic Standing's Terry Joyce, premiering every Monday at 1 p.m. with replays Tuesday at 7 a.m., Wednesdays at midnight, and Sundays at 7 p.m. right here on 420radio.org.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
Welcome back, everybody. 29 after the hour, and we're going all the way to America's cannabis capital, Denver, Colorado, to speak to our next guest. Art Way from the Drug Policy Alliance is joining us. Art, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Russ. I'm a big fan, actually.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking our call, because, you know, we get so busy doing the show here, and I looked up on my calendar and went, oh my God, I'm getting on a plane next Tuesday. I got to head to Denver for this conference. Tell folks about what we're doing next week in Denver, Colorado.
You know, we're basically pitching a tent and inviting all drug policy reformers from across the world and the country, and especially Colorado, to discuss drug policy reform and, talk about where we've been, where we're going, what we'd like to see. So it's basically like an international revival of drug policy reformers, sort of like a family reunion. Marijuana reformers, criminal justice reformers, harm reductionists, legislators, students. We're all going to hang out and discuss drug policy reform here in Denver, October 23rd through the 26th.
You mentioned the family reunion idea, and I often say that when I'm heading out to Hemp Fest or to the High Times Cannabis Cups or the normal conferences even. This is like that family reunion where people from all across, third cousins twice removed are coming in, because this isn't just marijuana. This is all drug reform. Give people an idea of some of the topics and people that will be discussed there.
Yeah, we will be discussing, PTSD, psychedelics, whether psychedelics can take advantage of sort of the messaging and the same thing that we saw with marijuana reform regarding marijuana as medicinal, and whether or not, psychedelics could take off in the same way and use that for PTSD and other issues. We'll have harm reductionists there talking about supervised injection facilities for injection drug users more on the chaotic end of the drug use spectrum. We'll have formerly incarcerated people there discussing their role in drug policy reform and issues that are specific to them. So it's definitely a broad umbrella. We bring people together from many different backgrounds and many different issue areas to discuss reform in general.
With Denver as the backdrop for this conference, of course, a lot of people are going to be coming in, for a lot of them, the first time they've ever been somewhere where marijuana is legal. How much is that going to be highlighted at the conference? Any real-world examples from Denver that we might be looking forward to?
Sure. We're going to provide tours for conference registrants to see the marijuana industry up close and personal. Members of Marijuana Policy Project, National Cannabis Industry Association, Vicente Cedarburg here in Colorado will be hosting community sessions on Saturday to discuss the industry and to discuss the history that was made here in 2012. So, yeah, that's a big part of it. And marijuana is always a big part of our reform conferences. Marijuana reformers, you guys travel well, you make a lot of noise, and it'll be no different this year, but we'll actually definitely have something concrete to celebrate and something to show people once they get into town.
I like us being referred to like we're the fan base of a college football team at bowl season. Well, they travel well. They bring a big crowd. We're speaking with Art Way. He's the Senior Drug Policy Manager for Colorado with the Drug Policy Alliance. And one of the interesting things we've been covering going on in Colorado now is, now that it is legal, all the fights and discussions and disagreements over how it should be legal. Colorado's got this Proposition AA, of course, a interesting state quirk here that you have to vote on taxes separately than initiatives. How do you think that plays as far as the worldwide audience and even the nationwide audience as to how legalization would play out in their state?
Well, it's a complex issue, and there's many different angles and many different things that need to be addressed when you talk about taxing and regulating marijuana and legalizing marijuana. You mentioned Prop AA. Written in Amendment 64, there was a provision that stated our General Assembly should send a tax referendum to the vote of the people the following year. And that's what Prop AA is. The General Assembly came together during our last legislative season and worked on an initiative, and that was the basis of Prop AA. And, it once again has kind of divided the marijuana community. The General Assembly decided to add a special sales tax of 10% to what was already written into the initiative regarding a 15% excise tax or wholesale tax. So, the marijuana community is broad. It has a lot of different ideologies and a lot of different paradigms. And Prop AA has once again kind of split the community in two. Many people are in support, many people are not. But we'll see what happens. Fortunately, even if Prop AA doesn't pass, implementing legislation has ensured that there is enough money for regulation to continue with Amendment 64.
Yeah, it's interesting watching this develop and how differently it develops between Colorado and Washington State, where higher taxes are already written into the initiative and how people are dealing with that. But I think it's good news now that we're talking about the details of how to be legal rather than whether or not we should be legal.
Absolutely, and we cannot, lose sight of the decriminalization aspect of this. We have basically, Colorado and Washington, reduce the harms for marijuana users within those states for adults over 21. And, that stuff is in play right now. And, details regarding the tax and the regulatory aspect, that's definitely cherry on top. You don't want to legalize without providing people a legal way to obtain marijuana. But, we often lose sight of the decrim aspect and the fact that, many people are walking around the state of Colorado and Washington with up to an ounce in their pocket, not concerned with police at all.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling. I was in election night. I was in Seattle, and the next day flew to Denver, and it was amazing to get on the plane and off the plane, and it was legal in both places. It was pretty amazing. Art, I wanted to ask you about this upcoming conference. Lots of great speakers going to be there. A lot of great presentations. You talked about the tours. If people were interested in coming to the conference, is there still time to register? Can they still get a hotel room? And where would they go to do that?
There's still time to register. You can go to our conference website, www.reformconference.org. Hotel rooms are tough, but we're trying to work it out. We're engaged in another hotel that's close to the downtown Denver Sheraton where the conference is at. But yeah, registration is still live. Go to the conference website. You can also get in touch with me directly, away@drugpolicy.org, and I can assist people and give them the rundown of where we are right now.
All right. Absolutely. That would be excellent. We're going to be there, and a few of our fans and fellow activists are going to be there as well. So we'll bring some coverage as best we can. Are there going to be any video archives or live streams that DPA is providing?
Absolutely. We often partner with the Hungarian Civil Liberties Union. They come to our conferences every year, and they provide live video and streaming. Twitter is going to be popping off. Facebook is going to be jumping. And many of the sessions are set to be recorded. We'll have translation for many of the sessions. So, yes, we're going to definitely promote the conference after it's over and provide people with a lot of ways to see what went down if they unfortunately weren't able to attend.
Yeah, and we will bring 2 hours of highlights every day that we're there, and maybe we'll get you on camera and some other folks and talk more.
I'm sure it'll happen.
I'm looking forward to that. All right, so the other thing I wanted to bring up just in general, since I have a Drug Policy Alliance person on the phone, we got a couple of great polls that have come out from two completely different places. 58% support for legalization in Texas, 65% support in California. Now that these polls are coming out, even in red states with majority support for legalization, what do you see happening at the federal level? Do you see any change in their, say, lack of response to the issue?
Well, I think the federal government is definitely under pressure. The paradigm around the harms of marijuana is shifting. As you know, Russ, 15, 20 years ago, we saw no polls like that. And now, all of a sudden, even red states are showing that they agree that you can, deal with the potential harms of heavy marijuana use from a tax and regulatory standpoint, from one of public health and one of public education. And we need to remove this issue as much as possible from the purview of the criminal justice system. So, I think we're definitely reaching a point where the federal government is, being backed into a corner, and they're going to have to address this issue sooner or later.
Is there any truth to the rumor that the legalization of marijuana is why the Denver Broncos are doing so well this year?
Yeah.
I say it's the elevation. The other teams come flying in. There's all that pot smoke in the air. They're disoriented. No,
Well, the state, we're just a bunch of winners in general. So that kind of trickles down to the football team too.
That's excellent. Art Way from the Drug Policy Alliance in Denver, Colorado. He's the senior drug policy manager, and we're going to be having that conference there next week, October 23rd through the 26th. For information, is there a website, Reform Conference, or something that they can go to?
www.reformconference.org.
There we go.
And all your information is there, registration, program, schedule, all that stuff is there at that website.
Reformconference.org. Check it out, folks. We'll be there. We'll bring you as much conference coverage as we can. And Art, I can't wait to see you there.
All right, thanks, Russ. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. All right, folks, when we come back, we'll have some time to talk about how we're legalizing marijuana, the tax issue, this time in Washington State, and why our side can't stop using the worst-case scenario. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Ever wonder how often to change your bong water? The most effective method for baking pot brownies? The best destinations for a ganja getaway? How to hide herb in your car? Whether to grow your own? How precisely to legalize it? Or how something as wonderful as marijuana ever got to be illegal in the first place? Finally, you can find all these answers and much more in the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, featuring 420 things to do when you're stoned. Since 1974, High Times Magazine has covered marijuana in all its aspects and wonders, from cultivation to legalization to the herb's enduring and exalted place in popular culture. Packed with inside information, the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook rolls all of this collected wisdom together into a single indispensable ganja guide, including an entertaining look at marijuana's history, profiles of herb-friendly travel destinations and festivals, favorite potluck recipes from the High Times staff, smoking skills, advocacy and activism, essential marijuana movies and songs, profiles of famous cannabis strains, comprehensive growing information, celebrity endorsements, and much more.
Pills? You mean you really are taking drugs?
I need them.
Jesse, give me those.
I need them, Zach. I have to sing.
Jesse, you can't sing tonight.
Yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so
Jesse.
See, I don't fit in anywhere. No one shares my fucking beliefs, man. You know what I mean? That's good. Bill, your beliefs are ludicrous. Oh, what they're mowing. It's like, drugs, man. It's like, I can't believe we have this war on drugs. You people actually have to think that, honestly, that the government's true about this, right? You actually believe they're making efforts. Don't make me giggle and fall off the stool. Go, no, Bill. We know they're lying cocksuckers. We're not fooled. That's why we still do drugs. But you know what I mean? How can you have a war against drugs all day long? You see those commercials, here's your brain, just say no. Why do you think they call it dope? And the next commercial, this bud's for you. Hey, it's Miller time. I got some other shocking information to tell you this. I know you don't know this, so I feel it's my duty to tell you, thus to pass on knowledge. Alcohol is a fucking drug. A, B, and here comes the big one. Alcohol kills more people than crack, coke, and heroin combined each year. Da-na-na-na-na-na. This bud's for you. This drug is for you. This drug is for you. It's okay to drink your drug. Oh, yeah, we meant those other drugs. Those untaxed drugs. Those are the bad ones, or you knew that, right? Come on. Yeah, you did. And thank God they're taxing alcohol, man. It means we have those great roads we can get fucked up and drive on. Man, thank God they're taxing this shit, huh? We'd be doing donuts in a wheat field right now. Thank God we're on a highway. Woo! My point is, I wasn't a criminal when I did drugs. No more than you're a criminal because you drink a beer. People who do drugs are not criminals. They might be sick. But I don't think jail's going to heal anybody. Yeah, thank God they caught me. Oh, what was I doing ruining my life with that marijuana? I want to thank Bubba, my new rehabilitator back there. I would not come out of jail wanting to do less drugs. I would want to come out mainlining heroin into my fucking eyeballs. I think it would only escalate. Which, by the way, I think all evidence points to that. Okay, I deal only in facts. That's why I'm a cocky fucking bastard. My life is infinitely better now that I've quit taking drugs. But my life would be infinitely worse had I ever been arrested for taking drugs.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Today for the rant, I wanted to take a look at the proposed taxation in the state of Washington that's garnered a lot of attention from activists on our side. You know, the Denver folks are upset about a 10% and 15% scheme, while in Washington state it's 25, 25, 25. Now, I'm in agreement that those levels of taxation are probably a little high. However, as we go about fighting this issue or discussing this issue on either side, I would just appreciate if people would use some of the facts that have been found in here instead of trying to find the worst case scenario to defend a proposition. So whether you're pro or anti on this, I hope you at least take to heart my point. The exhibit that begins this rant is a latest article from Jacob Sullum, who writes for Reason.com. Now, got to understand, Reason is the libertarian website, and perhaps that colors a little bit how this coverage comes across. I found it reprinted in Forbes.com. Now, Forbes, of course, the magazine of the very rich. Okay, so here's the line. It says, according to the Associated Press, the piece is entitled, Washington's Goal for State Licensed Pot Shops. Just 25% of the market? Okay. And so this is the quote. The board hopes the sale of legal pot will capture about 1/4 of the total pot market in the state for starters, end quote. And the idea here, of course, being that, they're going to capture 1 out of 4 pot smokers, because some of the other pot smokers will be medical. Some will still be on the black market and won't leave it. And that's the point they're trying to make here in this article, where he says that's a remarkably unambitious goal to just capture 1 out of 4. But Washington is imposing hefty taxes and strict regulations on marijuana, and the liquor board's consultants project it will cost 2 to 3 times as much in state licensed stores as it does in the black market. That's what I want to talk about in this rant. This continued reliance on the Botech analysis, Mark Kleiman's group, the consultants there for Washington State, where they're picking out this number, this $17 a gram number, and using it to distort this argument about the taxation. I'm going to go right to the analysis. I got this pulled up because you know me, I look shit up. And let me see if I can get a screen here that will give us a look. This is the spreadsheet that they're playing with here, where they're pointing out the price structure. And let me pull this down to where it's the $2 a gram number. Here we go. So they're pointing out the price structure of an oversimplified vertical structure and production costs at $2 per gram. Let's see if we can get more of that on the screen. And as you can see, they calculate the $2 for the original price, and then 25% tax brings that up to $2.50. And then the markup of 100% brings that to $5. And then another 25% brings that up to $6.25. And then another 100% markup brings up to $12.50. And then a 25% tax brings up to $15.63. And then the 8.75% sales tax brings the price of a gram of marijuana up to $16.99. That's the shocking information that we pull off. And this is where, Sullum and other people that have been writing about this issue have been getting the scare figure from, is this price structure where they show the $16.99 per gram, which indeed, if that is what marijuana would cost in Washington State, would be pretty exorbitant. But if you continue reading further down the page, you will see this part here that says there is no universal percentage markup that one can just plunk down into these calculations. Now, the 100% markup that they're calculating, that means double your money at each stage. That means the processor or the retailer getting double their money. A review of retail markups across 53 sectors find an enormous range of average markups from 14% for gas stations with convenience stores to 139% for optical goods. That would be glasses. So there's a range of what markups could be. How very interesting. For example, if we replace the arbitrary assumptions of a 100% markup with the processor markups typical of a dairy, 34%, and retail markup typical of beer, wine, and liquor stores, 31%, then the numbers would look very different. The projected retail price would be less than half as high, $7.46 versus $16.99 per gram. So what I want to know is why, when they do these reviews, do they keep going with the 100% markup, as the analysis admits is a completely arbitrary figure, and not going with markups that are more akin to what you'd actually find in business. 34% for a dairy. Do you think really that that operating a dairy is more or less expensive or time consuming or labor intensive or regulated than a pot farm? I'm asking because I don't know. Maybe 34% is a little high. Maybe it's a little low. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, if we assumed everybody stayed with those 100% markups and weed was costing $17 a gram for weed, they're not going to capture 25% of the market. They're going to capture very little of the market, because I ain't buying $17 a gram weed when I can get it almost anywhere for 10 or less. So wouldn't then these producers and processors and retailers with no business coming in be forced to reduce their markup from a double your money 100% markup down to something more reasonable like a 33%, and bringing that weed down to $7.46 an ounce, or a gram, $7.46 a gram? Wouldn't $7.46 an ounce? Wouldn't that be nice?
That would.
But and this goes into, now those were the simplistic models that they pulled out. There's a much more complex model that they put together here in figure 5 that's on page 20 of their analysis. And on this figure, they've got all sorts of different possibilities between infused products, and if we had standard this, or if it was a more boutique brand, if it was the cost-conscious, Walmart weed, or if it was your Courvoisier of cannabis, whatever it might be. They came up with a bunch of different estimates, which I can show you right here. And I rarely see these referred to, where your gram tax summary is down there in the $3 to $10 ranges, and the price to consumer as low as $9 a gram. Right there, $9.41 a gram. Some more expensive. The prestige price, $10.98 a gram. Okay, $11 for prestige marijuana. And then the $16.89 shows up when it's the touch price, which is the wholesale versus retail kind of stuff. Infused products, standard versus prestige per gram, down to $2.20 a gram for some infused products. Why do we never hear anyone referring to these numbers when they talk about this Botech analysis? Instead, it's cherry picking that $2 a gram production price and that $17 a gram retail price that they keep talking about, because they're just anti-tax. It's a reflex. It's, oh my God, it's a tax. It's bad, and we must oppose it. Which is fine. Oppose the tax if you think it's too high. I'm cool with that. But don't distort the data that you're using. Don't cherry pick the big bad, worst case scenario without also mentioning there are scenarios in there where the price of weed comes in pretty much to what the price of weed is today in Washington State or Oregon. That's what I've got this problem with. And the other part of the analysis, $2 a gram to produce marijuana, really? See, there's 28 grams in an ounce. That's $56 an ounce to produce. Now, in talking to Mark Emery and other people I know who are grow experts, they've told me they can get their production down to $25 an ounce, $12.50 an ounce if they got, bigger rooms to be able to pull this off. So in a legal scheme where you can have huge warehouses and industrial everything going on. Now, admittedly, there'll be costs for testing, costs for labor, costs for benefits. So I'm not saying it's going to necessarily be cheaper than black market, but it's going to cost twice as much to produce in the legal scheme as it does in the current black market scheme. I think that $2 a gram production cost is going to come down. It can't not come down as better production techniques, better work, all of that comes into play. Economy of scale comes into play. As that production cost drops to $1.50 a gram, $1 a gram. Now we're talking about weed that even at a 25% worst case 100% markup situation is still below the price of what most people around the country are paying for weed and probably close to the price for what people here are paying for weed. What I fear in this situation is not the taxation, but the repercussions of the optics of opposing it. Okay? We just got marijuana legalized in 2 states. And so right out of the gate, I'm for getting it regulated, getting it up and running, getting it to work. Now, if it turns out that later on, after it's up and running and people are used to the money and the taxation that's coming in, that we find the taxation's a little too high, let's fight that issue then. And I know the response to that is going to be much harder then. They'll be addicted to the tax money. But if it's legal then and we build ourselves a big lobby, we then become like the beer industry or the tobacco industry and we have some power to lobby for some lower taxes. We never get that lobbying power unless it's legal and the businesses are up and running. And if marijuana in its first year that it's legal becomes a Wild West headache for cities and regulators, and the promises we made about, tax and regulate, help fix our schools don't come true, that's going to make it all that much harder for the next state in a somewhat more conservative area to try to pass a marijuana legalization and to try to use that rhetoric of tax and regulate. It's going to be a lot harder if they can't turn to that, if it's been proven to be false in Colorado or Washington. Now, I will admit, I have more sympathy for the anti-tax movement in Washington than I do in Colorado. Much more sympathy for 2 major reasons. In Colorado, you can grow your own. If you think those taxes are too high, protest it the best way you can. Overgrow the government. Grow your own. When they find they can't sell it in stores, but people are still using as much as they've ever used, then they'll have to do something about the taxes. And considering that you can keep the proceeds of all your harvests, you could bank up a whole bunch of weed. And you can gift an ounce to anyone. So, look, not a whole lot of compassion on my side, especially with some of the shenanigans that's gone on. Robert Corey just filed the political statement for, he got caught for saying marijuana has 0 value, right? So he didn't have to declare what, the pot cost that he gave away the 4,000 joints, right? Well, now he's declared it, and they dropped the ethics probe on this because he did declare what the marijuana is worth. $1,250. Apparently, 4,000 joints in Denver, Colorado are worth $1,250. And if you do the math, that's 32 cents a joint. So I am looking forward to my flight next Tuesday to head to Denver, Colorado, where I can get joints for 32 cents. I'm sure they're all around. Sure, there's plenty to be found. Lots of 32-cent joints out there, right? Well, we'll see. Hey, folks, that's all the time we got here for Hour 1, but stay tuned for Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. Bacon Dan's here. Brian the Red's here. I got a special Canadian kind of thing for Bacon Dan. We played it on Thrasher Sports, but it needs more wider coverage, so we're going to play it here on Friday. Also, I've got a stupid prohibition story that involves prison pussy. I'm talking about a cat. I can't believe you, Dan, you and your sick mind. So we'll talk about that in Hour 2 as well. And then your calls at 971-533-7111, where you are the voice of the Marijuana Nation. Hey, folks, that's all the time for Hour 1. Thanks for joining us for Bacon Dan and Brian the Red. I'm Radical Russ. Till next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it.